Good afternoon. I want to welcome everyone to this afternoon's meeting of the Senate Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. Madam Secretary, please note that we do have a quorum, and please mark Majority Leader Canizaro present when she arrives. I'm going to skip over the housekeeping matters. We are very fortunate to have Speaker Frierson here with us today, and I'd like to open the hearing on Assembly Bill 422. Thank you for joining us, Speaker.
Good afternoon. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, for the record, my name is Jason Frierson, Assemblyman for District 8, Speaker of Nevada State Assembly, and I am pleased to present to you Assembly Bill 422, which will update and modernize our voter registration database. I will be brief. In 2002, Congress passed the Help America Vote Act, HAVA, that, among many things, required states to create a statewide voter registration database. The U.S. Election Assistance Commission reports that states have developed 3 different systems to comply with this requirement. The first is bottom-up, and information is collected and stored locally and reported up to the statewide system. This is usually transmitted daily or in real time. Top-down, information is collected and stored in one system, and hybrid is a mix of both top-down and bottom-up systems. Right now, Nevada is one of just 6 states to use a bottom-up voter registration system. County clerks and registrars maintain their county's voter registration rolls and use a database specific to their county. Voter information is collected and stored at the local level and reported up to the statewide system on a regular basis. This level of coordination inherently makes the process slower. AB 422 will move us away from a bottom-up system and move us towards a top-down system instead. Additionally, while bottom-up systems in other states share information in real time, our data sharing is only transmitted daily. This delayed information sharing is cumbersome and inefficient. With our 21st century voting policies that include automatic voter registration and same-day voter registration, it's time that we modernize our systems to match that innovation. I'll now walk through the provisions of the bill. While most of the bill makes conforming changes, I want to direct your attention to Section 32. Section 32, subsection 1, requires the Secretary of State to establish and maintain a centralized top-down database to collect and store the registration of electors from all the counties in the state. Additionally, each county clerk must use the database created by the Secretary of State to collect and maintain all records. Subsection 2 of Section 32 requires the Secretary of State to use the voter registration information collected to create the official statewide voter registration list. Finally, Section 39.5, beginning January of 21 through January of 24, the Secretary of State will submit a report to IFC every 6 months on the status of the project. I think states across the country, especially Nevada, have noticed the effects of outdated technology and infrastructure that have hampered our state and local government's ability to deliver services effectively and efficiently to our constituents. I believe modernizing our voter registration database and processes is a step in the right direction to streamline our state government, and that concludes my formal remarks. I will say that in my dealings, and I have worked with both the Secretary of State's office as well as local election officials in counties, every single person, every single official supports a top-down system as a more effective and efficient way to manage elections. I get frustrated when we are on the list of states that are behind, and the fact that we are one of only a handful of states that are still using an outdated method, I think does a disservice to our constituents and to voters in Nevada. So I welcome any questions that the committee may have and look forward to moving our state forward.
Speaker, thank you so much for presenting the bill. I really appreciate it. I, too, through the years, have talked to many county clerks, to our current Secretary of State, past Secretary of States, and the need for a top-down voter registration system, I think, has been clear, and I'm so glad that you and the Assembly Committee brought this bill, because it always seemed like something we needed, but an obstacle that just wasn't the right time or too big to overcome. Now, members, we do have Deputy Secretary of State Mark Woloshin. Thank you, Deputy Woloshin, for being here on Zoom to help us as well with any questions. Members, are there any questions either for the Speaker or for Deputy Woloshin? Senator Severs-Cancer.
Thank you, Chair Orenshall, and thank you, Speaker, for bringing this bill. I remember in 19 having a conversation about trying to convert to a top-down, and at that time we felt like we didn't have the resources and the timeline because some of the changes that were being made. So I appreciate this legislation. I just want to ask about the fiscals on here, and so we've budgeted. This hasn't. I don't know if it went to Assembly Ways and Means because Okay, so it's already gone through that process. So the question is, do we have the money set aside to be able to allow the Secretary of State at this time to start the RFP process and implementation?
And I'll make it brief, and I believe Mr. Velashan can also address it, but we already have HAVA funds that can start the process, and this is going to be a 4-year process, so we won't be able to really fully implement it until 2024. But the fiscal note, as I recall, was removed for this biennium because we were able to at least get started this biennium with that process. Obviously, we can't tie the hands of a future legislature, but this is an investment that everyone agrees is the right direction, and I think it would be incumbent upon this institution to continue that effort in the next biennium to make sure that we finish what we started.
Thank you. And I know when we went to same-day voter registration, that was one of the issues that we knew well in advance of the election was going to be a problem because of the timing with the synchronization of individuals who registered to make sure that they were eligible. So I appreciate the legislation and that the fiscal for now has been removed. But you also mentioned HAVA funds. So are HAVA funds going to cover all of it or just a piece of it?
I have Mr. Velashan here. It'd probably be more appropriate for me to have him
Thank
answer
you.
the questions as it impacts their office.
Thank you. Deputy Wolashin.
Thank you for the question, Senator. Mark Velashan, Deputy Secretary of State for Elections, for the record. To answer the question directly, we have approximately $6.8 million remaining in the HAVA grant. The intent is to spend approximately $4.8 million of that HAVA grant to at the very least get the RF to do the assessment, which is that first portion, and then to cover as much of the entire project as possible. So as it looks from right now, again, the intent is as we understand it, the HAVA grant will not cover everything, but it will get likely a sizable chunk in this first phase, at least through this coming biennium.
Thank you very much, Deputy Washington. Any follow-ups?
Just one question. Did we have access to those HAVA funds 2 years ago when we were looking at this before, or is this a new grant?
Yes, ma'am. Mark Velashan, for the record. We have had the HAVA grant various sizes, and we've received more since in 19. I'm not sure if it's the exact same amount as back then, but we have had the HAVA grant for some time now. My understanding also that the intent for the HAVA grant, again, the allocations across the state and to support the counties, a little different priorities previously, but between the Secretary and the Legislature identifying this requirement and prioritizing it above others, it's now time, and this is the reprioritization of the HAVA grant to focus on this project is absolutely something that we're doing now going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy. Any additional questions for Speaker Frierson or Deputy Washington? Vice Chair Lang.
Hi, thank you. I, too, have heard from the clerks and everyone that we need to go to this system, and I'm so excited that we can finally make that happen. My question is something that I'd really like to get on the record about having correct voter files. I think that it's really important that not only when people are running for re-election or election or going to vote that our voter files are accurate, and it's my understanding that this top-down process will help correct those problems, and then when people download files from the voter file to work on their campaigns and such, they will be the most accurate records because they'll be the most up-to-date.
Jason Frierson, for the record, again, this is Mr. Velashan's lane, but I will say in generic terms that everything that we have discovered about moving to a top-down makes what we do more efficient, more reliable, more secure, and certainly faster.
Thank you, Speaker. Senator Bugg?
Thank you so much, Chair Orenshall, and thank you so much for bringing this legislation. I think it'll clear up a lot of, discrepancies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if I could ask Deputy Wolashin, I know states like Colorado have a top-down system like this, and if Nevada, if this passes and Nevada goes to that, will it be easier to make sure, if someone moves from, Lincoln County to Clark County, that the system cancels the registration in Lincoln, that all that is that all the different systems are talking to each other? Will it require new software? I wonder if you could just describe the implementation process.
Thank you for the question, Chair. Mark Lawson for the record. Absolutely. In the current system, the way it would work is if someone moved from Lincoln to Douglas, Lincoln County would actually cancel that registration. Douglas County would then have to create a brand new one, eliminating their vote history. And there's a lag, as I think the speaker mentioned, in regards to how long it takes for that information. Going forward with the top-down system, very similar to Colorado. And a quick aside, we spent, I think it was the better part of 5 hours talking to the Colorado, my counterpart there, as well as some of their IT staff about how they transitioned to the system to gain some of their lessons learned. It was extremely valuable. But moving forward, when it is a top-down system, it will be real time so that when that individual moves from Lincoln to Douglas, really all that will happen is that their location will change and their vote history will remain the same. That's going to be extremely helpful so that going forward, again, as mentioned previously, when we have provisional ballots, when somebody does move or again, someone's trying to register through the same-day registration process, we'll be able to tell instantly that this is their one registration across the state, that no one's trying to register and cast the ballot in Story, Carson, Douglas, and Lyon. So it's going to increase the security and further facilitate much greater and more effective list maintenance. The process will look like an assessment, which we're currently in RFP for right now. This will be an outside vendor looking at the requirements across the state and the counties. Gathering these requirements is a very significant part of this process that we learned from, I think it was 4 or all 5 of the states that we talked to that had gone through similar sort of transitions like this. When they come back, they'll make a recommendation as to whether it's a commercial off-the-shelf system or whether they recommend that we build something proprietary within the state itself. And then we'll move forward with approximately 18-month implementation that will be done in phases to make sure that, again, each of the counties' systems integrates effectively and that this new software that we develop is tailor-made to, or tailor-adjusted rather, to meet Nevadans' needs.
Thank you very much, Deputy Secretary of State Washington. I have a question from Vice Chair Lang.
Deputy Secretary, so I know I've heard accounts from people that about people coming into Nevada from out of state and doing a same-day registration and going back. Can you let me know or let the committee know how this top-down voter file would help with when people go out of state? And to be able, do you have communication? Will you have communication with other states on our perimeter where people could come and go? How would that work?
Senator, thank you for the question. Mark Voloshin for the record. So a top-down system will help enhance our internal security and making sure that we have very clean voter rolls. In regards to the external intrastate movements that you're referencing, either from one of our adjoining states or even in some cases there's talk about folks trying to pull a fast one and when they move and that sort of thing. That really is helped and mitigated through our involvement with the Electronic Registration Information Center, the ERIC program. That's the one that looks at state registrations across multiple states. Currently, it's 30 plus DC. And when they compare our statewide voter registration lists, that process is the one that enables us to identify individuals that are attempting to be registered in multiple states, which, by the way, is not in and of itself a crime. That happens fairly regularly where individuals move back and forth. The key is when we find 2 registrations and maybe 2 adjoining states, like you mentioned, where one is newer, this ERIC system notifies both states. We compare the registration dates to see which one is more recent, and then we reach out to the individual to verify, did you just move? Is this your actual current one? And if not, then we're going to cancel it. If we identify that an individual has cast a ballot in more than one state, we simply conduct an investigation and refer that over to law enforcement.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. And sorry to ask a tangential question, but with Vice Chair Lang bringing up the ERIC system, I know for a long time it's been a goal to try to get our neighbor to the west to join us. Do you know, are we any closer to having them join the ERIC system?
Thank you for the question, Senator. Mark Voloshin for the record. I've heard rumors, but nothing confirmed. We certainly hope to, and I work closely with our counterparts in California to make sure that, again, whether it's cross-state registration corrections or a number of other things, we are talking frequently. So while it maybe isn't as effective as the ERIC system would be in its automated sense, I will let you know that we do have a very strong relationship with the state and their SOS, and it is something that we continue to work for, recognizing that whether it's clean voter rolls or making sure that we catch double voters, it's really in the interests of both states and their electorates.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Any additional questions, members? All right. I don't see any. Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Deputy Secretary of State Washington. With that, I'd like to go to support for the measure. Anyone here in the committee room in Carson City who'd like to speak in support, please come forward, and then we'll go to support on the phone lines. No, we understand how busy you are. Thank you for presenting the bill, and we appreciate you being here, Speaker. Have a good afternoon. Please go ahead, sir.
That's okay. Chairman, members of the committee, good to see you. For the record, my name is Annette Magnus, and I'm the Executive Director of Battleborn Progress. I am here today in full support of AB 422 and changing Nevada to a top-down system. This is so important. Top-down systems provide the most efficient, streamlined mechanism for the state to seamlessly transfer voter registration data to the counties. Examples of data are felon data, death data, data provided by ERIC, USPS change of address data, registrations generated by online voter registration systems, which our organization uses often, and automatic voter registration systems. These systems provide the chief elections official in the state with an important tool to better monitor and maintain uniformity in a way that voter registration records are managed and maintained. Another benefit is that these systems typically provide smaller and/or more resource-challenged counties with improved functionality and efficiency in their management of voter registration data and management of elections. All of these benefits will help Nevada's electoral system, and we will continue to be one of those states that people look to all across the country. We believe this change will continue to keep Nevada on the cutting edge of our election systems and processes. Please support AB 422. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your testimony, Ms. Magnus. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chairman Orenshaw and committee members. For the record, my name is Emily Prasad Zamora, EMILYPERSAUD-ZAMORA. I'm the Executive Director of Silver State Voices. I'm here on behalf of the Latin Nevadans Vote Coalition. We're a coalition of 22 national and local organizations dedicated to ensuring fair and equitable elections for all Nevadans. I stand in strong support of Assembly Bill 422 because the top-down voter registration system ensures that our voter rolls are accurate, efficient, and up to date. Our current bottom-up voter registration system requires the counties to maintain their voter registration databases and election management systems. This may cause great inconvenience to the counties and organizations like ours who rely on county cooperation to engage with Nevadans across the state successfully. It is imperative to acknowledge that Nevada is a transient state. Seeing information across the board will streamline the processes for county clerks and registrars while ensuring there is a more secure way of managing the voting process at all polling locations. AB 422 would pave the way to ensure that same-day voter registration functions in the most secure and efficiently way possible. Please support AB 422. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Prasad Zamora. Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to speak in support of the measure here in the committee room? All right, not seeing anyone here in the committee room who wishes to speak. Broadcasting, if we can go to the phone lines. Anyone in support of Assembly Bill 422?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 422, please press star 9 now to get your place in the queue. Chair, there appears to be no support comments at this time.
Thank you very much. We'll now go to opposition. Anyone who is opposed to Assembly Bill 422 who wants to be heard on the record? Anyone in the committee room? All right, not seeing anyone in the committee room. Broadcasting, can we go to the phone lines? Opposition on Assembly Bill 422.
To testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 422, please press star 9 now to get your place in the queue. Chair, at this time, there is no testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 422.
Thank you. We'll now go to neutral. Anyone who's neutral on the measure and wants to be heard on the record? Anyone in the committee room? I'm not seeing anyone in the committee room. On the phone lines broadcasting, anyone who's neutral on the measure and wishes to be heard?
To testify in a neutral position on Assembly Bill 422, please press star 9 now to get your place in the queue. Chair, it appears there is no neutral testimony at this time on Assembly Bill 422.
Thank you very much, Broadcasting. With that, we'll close the hearing on Assembly Bill 422. And the last item on our agenda is public comment. But before we go to public comment, I wonder if I could take a brief recess. And since I'm the chair, I'm going to grant that brief recess. So, all right. Thank you very much, committee. We'll come back to order. And given that sine die is looming and so close, I wonder if the appetite of the committee might be to move Assembly Bill 422 today. If there's a motion for due pass.
Certainly, I'd like a motion to do pass Assembly Bill 422.
Thank you. I have a motion from Senator Seavers-Gansert. Is there a second?
And I second that.
Thank you. I have a second from Senator Buck. Any discussion on the motion? All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, if you'll please note, the measure passed with 3 votes in favor and Vice Chair Lang, Majority Leader Canizaro excused. With that, we will go to public comment. Is there anyone here in the committee room who wishes to make public comment? Okay. I'm not seeing anyone here in the committee room. We can go to the phone lines. Broadcasting, if there's anyone on the phone lines that wishes to make public comment.
If you wish to provide general public comment, please press star 9 now to get your place in the queue. Chair, at this time, there appears to be no general public comment.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Broadcasting. And I believe we are going to have at least one more meeting before sine die, but I just want to take a minute to thank Broadcast and Production Services and Information Technology staff. I would like to express my sincere gratitude and thanks to our amazing staff with the Broadcast and Production Services Unit, BPS, and our fantastic IT staff with Legislative Counsel Bureau, who've kept us up and running all session and do so much work behind the scenes to make sure the public and all of us can fully participate in our important work. And certainly now we have people who are able to participate from Carson City, from Las Vegas, Elko, and anywhere in the world. Nevadans who might be traveling abroad, living abroad, who are interested in the bills and the measures. Tomorrow I know I've got a Nevadan who's living overseas who plans on testifying on a bill in Assembly Ways and Means, and this couldn't happen without the great work of Broadcast, Production Services, and our IT staff. Things have changed so much, and we have so much more ability for people to participate in the legislative process than we did, certainly when I first was elected to the Assembly. I want to thank Jen Scafidi, Supervisor for Broadcast Production Services, Jennifer Wells, Broadcast Technician, Zach Lucas, Broadcast Technician, Ryan Dombrowski, Public Comment Operator, David Wilding, Camera Operator, and Henry McDiarmid, Information Technology Services. I really appreciate all the hard work you do to try to make these committees seem so seamless and to let us really participate and allow everyone to participate from anywhere in the world. So thank you. With that, we are adjourned. I do think there are members and anyone else who's in earshot, we have some goodies in my office, some pizza and wings if anyone wants to stop by. We were going to try to bring them to the committee room, but I think maybe that's running a little bit late. You can take some and take it to your office.